Namaste and welcome to this fascinating explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today because, well, we're going to peel back the hidden layers of everyday reality. We walk through life thinking we've got it all figured out, right? We think we know exactly how the world works. But just beneath the surface, there is this incredibly complex hidden logic dictating literally everything around us. From the tiniest insects to massive Hollywood blockbusters, reality is way stranger, a lot more calculated, and definitely more exciting than it first appears. So here is our roadmap for today's journey. We'll start with nature's hidden logic, then we'll uncover the secrets of everyday life. After that, we're going to push the absolute limits with the extremes of survival, and finally wrap things up by defying the impossible. Yes, we are literally going to connect a devastating historical famine straight to Hollywood blockbusters, so stick around. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Nature's hidden logic, the rules we ignore at our absolute peril. 40 million. That staggering number represents the estimated tragic death toll during the Great Chinese Famine. Back in 1958, under Chairman Mao's Great Sparrow Campaign, the country attempted to save grain by essentially wiping out the sparrow population. Millions upon millions of birds were killed. But they completely ignored nature's hidden logic. You see, sparrows didn't just eat grain. They were keeping the entire insect population in check. Without them, there was an absolute explosion of locusts that absolutely decimated the crops. This catastrophic disruption of the ecosystem contributed to a horrifying famine. It's a dark, terrifying reminder that in nature, every single creature has a crucial job. Now, let me ask you something. If I told you to guess the king of teeth in the animal kingdom, you'd probably picture a shark. Actually, scratch that. You'd probably picture a fearsome apex predator, right? And this brilliantly illustrates the hilarious contrast of nature. On the left, we have the mighty roaring lion rocking a modest 30 teeth. But over on the right, the incredibly slow-moving giant African land snail boasting over 25,000 microscopic teeth on its tongue like radula. Basically, these teeth act like a tiny file, constantly wearing down and regrowing. So yeah, when it comes to dental records, the slow and steady snail absolutely destroys the king of the jungle. Consider nature's most underappreciated cleanup crew. First up, the vulture. Sure, they might not win any beauty contests anytime soon, but without vultures, humanity would be in serious trouble. Their stomach acid is literally so powerful it digests lethal pathogens right out of dead animals. In fact, research showed that a decline in India's vulture population was linked to an estimated 5 lakh additional human deaths over a few years, just because diseases and stray dog populations spiked. And then we have the dung beetle. By burying animal waste, they break it down to generate humus, which is basically a superfood for the soil. Without these little guys, our soil would essentially be dead. Speaking of animals outsmarting nature, this next fact is surprisingly funny, but just absolutely brilliant. Japanese scientists actually decided to paint domestic cows with black and white zebra stripes. Why on earth would they do that? To confuse horseflies and biting insects. It turns out the stripes create massive visual confusion for the bugs, making it incredibly hard for them to gauge their speed and actually land. The result? The cows got bitten way less and showed significantly fewer signs of stress. It's a completely natural, chemical-free defense system that was hiding in plain sight. Moving right along to Section 2, Secrets of Everyday Life, Uncovering Hidden Meanings. Because just like nature, our daily human lives and the ordinary objects around us are full of hidden logic that we totally overlook. For instance, look at this visual cheat sheet here. We've all seen these cryptic symbols on our clothing tags and, let's be honest, promptly ignore them, right? But these simple shapes are desperately trying to save our favorite clothes from total ruin. A bucket means wash, and the dots inside it tell you the temperature. A square dictates how to dry the fabric. If it has a circle inside, boom, you can tumble dry it. The iron is pretty self-explanatory, but the triangle is your warning for bleach, and the circle means you better take it to the dry cleaner. Literally taking 5 seconds to read this code is going to stop your brand new clothes from looking 10 years old after a single wash. Now, let's take a quick walk through the ridiculously complex history of old Indian currency. Before the decimal system was adopted in 1957, doing the math for your basic, everyday transactions was a nightmare. Check out these steps. 3 cowrie made a damdi, 10 cowrie made a dela, then you moved up to pesa, then anna, and finally, 16 annas made a single rupee. This whole complicated system is exactly where we got some of our most famous idioms. When someone says they won't give you a futi cowrie, they are literally referencing the absolute lowest, most worthless denomination of this old system. Or the phrase 16 annas such, that means 100% true, because exactly 16 annas made one complete whole rupee. And here's a secret that's probably hiding right in your bedroom. those liquid mosquito vaporizers we all plug in, they contain chemical compounds like prolethrin. Now, they are highly effective. They directly attack the insect's nervous system until the bug loses control and drops. But here is the catch. These chemicals absolutely require fresh air. If you use them in a completely sealed room for too long, they can start causing throat irritation, headaches, and dizziness for humans. So consider this a reminder to always check the instructions. Keep a window slightly open, because human health has to come first. Now, this next one, I absolutely love comparing these two driving experiences. Over in Sweden, engineers came up with the active bump. It works like this. A radar constantly measures your car's speed. If you're driving under the speed limit, the road stays perfectly flat and smooth. You wouldn't even know it's there. But if you're speeding, a section of the road instantly drops a few centimeters, giving only the rule breakers a harsh, bumpy shock. Can you just imagine how quickly this genius invention would fix the terrible traffic habits in our own cities? It'd be a real game changer. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it looks exactly like magic, but it's pure, hard science. It's called a meriscope. It uses two parabolic mirrors facing each other. When you place a small object at the bottom, those mirrors reflect and focus the light so perfectly that a 3D hologram of the object floats right on top. You can walk around it, you can inspect it from all angles, but if you reach out to touch it, your hand goes right through. You literally can't touch it because it's purely a trick of focused light, completely fooling our brains into seeing reality where there isn't any. Let's shift gears a bit. Section 3, the extremes of survival. Pushing the limits. Get ready because these are some truly gripping stories of ultimate resilience. Let's walk through this absolutely harrowing timeline. In 2013, a tugboat off the coast of Nigeria suddenly flipped over and sank 30 meters straight to the freezing ocean floor. Tragically, the crew perished, except for the ship's cook, Harrison O'Kane. He miraculously found a tiny air pocket in a washroom. For 60 agonizing hours, he survived in freezing, pitch-black water, sipping on a single soft drink he managed to find. When specialized divers finally arrived 3 days later, expecting only to recover bodies, a hand reached out and grabbed one of them. The divers were completely shocked. I mean, Harrison's incredible willpower to survive 3 entire days underwater, it is just a stunning testament to the absolute extremes of human survival. Okay, so from intense human survival to, well, cookie survival. This is wild. In 2020, right next to the famous global seed vault in the freezing ice of Svalbard, Norway, a special doomsday vault was constructed. Its sole purpose? To protect the secret Oreo cookie recipe. Now, yes, obviously it was an incredibly clever, somewhat ridiculous marketing stunt by the company, but you've got to admit, it's pretty funny. Rest assured, even if the world literally ends, humanity has taken extreme measures to guarantee our favorite cream-filled cookies will survive the apocalypse. To put things into perspective, 3,222 degrees Celsius is the melting point of tungsten. It is the absolute final boss of metals. You can put this metal under thousands of tons of pressure, and sure, while it might bend a tiny bit, it flat out refuses to break easily. In fact, if you were to fire a machine gun directly at a solid block of tungsten, the bullets would literally shatter to pieces upon impact. It's the absolute pinnacle of material resilience, which is exactly why it's the go-to material for rocketry and heavy military equipment. Let's move to and see how this builds into our final chapter, Section 4, Defying the Impossible, Breaking the Rules. We're talking high-energy, boundary-pushing creativity here. You know, we often think that mind-blowing visual effects are a strictly modern invention. But check out The Jungle Book, and I mean the one released way back in 1942. This classic British movie, directed by Zoltan Korda, was an absolute technical marvel for its era. The visual sets and the cinematography completely defied the technological limits of the 1940s. It's a prime example of early cinema just shattering the rules of what people thought was possible. And the best part? You can actually watch this entire masterpiece for free on YouTube today. And speaking of pushing cinematic boundaries to the absolute limit, let's rapidly fire through the modern master of practical magic himself, Christopher Nolan. This is a legendary director who goes to insane lengths to avoid using CGI. Need a plane crash for the movie Tenet? He just bought a real Boeing 747 and actually crashed the thing. A zero-gravity fight scene in Inception? He literally built a massive physically rotating hallway. A farm on a dying Earth for Interstellar? He grew 500 acres of actual corn. And for Oppenheimer, he managed to recreate the blinding flash of the atomic bomb using real pyrotechnics, miniatures, and forced perspective. No green screens required. So the crucial point is really captured perfectly in Nolan's philosophy right here. He firmly believes that when actors perform among real things, their reactions are genuine. And because of that, we, the audience, feel that visceral truth on screen. By refusing to take the easy, computer-generated way out, he proves that practical, real-world effects are what create truly authentic, unforgettable emotion. Okay, this next story is just pure adrenaline. Picture this. It's a 2022 NASCAR race. Driver Ross Chastain desperately needed to pass 5 cars in the very final lap to qualify for the championship. Mathematically, it was impossible. But then, he remembered a trick his brother used in a childhood racing video game. Instead of braking for the final turn like a normal person, Chastain pushed the throttle to the absolute maximum and drove his car directly into the outer wall. Riding the wall at terrifying speeds, with sparks flying everywhere, he instantly slingshotted past 5 cars right at the finish line. It was a move so insanely dangerous and reality-defying, dubbed the Hail Melon, that NASCAR officially banned it the very next year. And wow, that brings us to the end of our journey today. From a snail walking around with 25,000 teeth, to a man surviving 3 days at the bottom of the ocean, to a race car driver turning a crazy video game glitch into real life. It really leaves us pondering this final, thought-provoking question. चाहे वो nature हो, science हो या cinema, क्या हमने कभी reality को पूरी तरह से समझा है? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep questioning the world around you, and I will see you in the next one.